All right, welcome. We know we're halfway through the year because we both just had birthdays this month. I know we don't look older, but believe it or not, we both got a little bit older this month in July. So we're going to go over what we saw the first half of 2025 on the Outer Banks real estate market and what do we expect moving forward towards the end of the year, both real estate sales, and we're also going to talk a little bit about the rental market and the changes that we've seen there and what we can do to keep your home renting through the rest of the year. That one's on you. You got to make sure that you can keep their home renting.
Got it.
Got it?
Got it.
All right. So just welcome to the show. Talking about the stats year to date. Not a lot of changes. One of the things that Lynn and I were just talking about is we actually saw inventory, which if you're listening at the beginning of the year, I predicted would be well over 1,000 units by the end of the year. I still think we're going to get there. But man, the last 2 months, we actually saw inventory drop. And I don't think you've heard that out of my mouth in, I don't remember when. It's been several years that I've said it. And, you know, we were just talking about how you typically might see that in July, but that hasn't been the case, right, in the last couple of years?
Hasn't been the case. When I first saw that the inventory had dropped, I thought, well, maybe it's just because we're coming into the summer and some sellers may decide to wait until after the summer to list if they're going to list. But when you look at the past 4 years, from May to June, inventory has always increased. So in the last 4 years, from May to June, we have not seen an inventory drop. It has, in fact, increased. So that is interesting, very interesting to me.
Yeah, like I said, I still think we're going to see inventory continue to increase, but I don't know. It's been a really tough market to predict over the last couple of years, especially this year. Just so much craziness with everything that the president's doing, from the tariffs to, what's going on in the Middle East to just the overall economy and rental numbers. There's been a lot of concern, I think, is a good way, but we really haven't felt that as much as I would have anticipated in our market. Would you agree?
I would agree. And it is interesting when you look at real estate markets across the country, it has been just as different, right? You've got the Southern Florida market, which is, they started a pretty severe drop well over a year ago, maybe 2 years ago.
Drop, it bottomed out.
It bottomed out, So for 2 years, I would say they have been struggling. And then you look at, other markets. I know I believe the Northern Virginia, D.C. area, they're still doing really, really well. Certain markets in California are still doing really, really well. And I feel like our market is still doing really well. We've been pretty steady.
We're almost even. We're down a couple percent. The feeling, and when you talk to agents, is that we've had a tough year. Like, it's been a slow year. But then when you look at the stats, and even more important, you look at what we've done, we've had a great year this year. It's been our best year in the last couple of years so far.
Since 2020, the start of the year, since 2021, this is the best start we've had since 2021.
That does two things. When I see that stat, and we talked about, or you showed me those stats, it shows me we didn't do what we should have done the last couple of years because the market was crazy. People were doing a lot of deals, but you had to be higher up in marketing, a lot of pay for leads, and a lot of things that just our business is not set up for. We've kind of done it the same way for a long time. We work hard. We have pretty consistent, but it's we could have done better, I think. But I'm not going to look backwards. Nope. I'm looking at this year, and I'm very excited with what we've done. And we're going to talk about what we need to do to keep it going. Because just because we had a good start to the year doesn't mean we've had a good year. Some reason that money goes away really quick.
It does go away really quick.
But overall, looking at the market stats, what we've talked about, not huge up or down. Inventories drop. Days on the market is one of the stats that's definitely continued to increase. It's up pretty significantly from last year. I think it was like 70 some days compared to 50. Don't have it right in front of me. But we are seeing homes, especially homes that are just priced a little bit out of the market. That's the biggest change, I think, that in the last couple of years, if you priced a home 10, 15% even above the market, you're still going to get activity. You're going to get offers. And that's it's going back to normal.
Yes,
where buyers they're not messing with a house if it's overpriced or bad location or it needs a lot of work. There's a lot of different reasons that some of the homes are sitting, because we still see homes going under contract in a day or two as well.
We can if it's the right home. I do feel like we are seeing more from buyers now that they don't necessarily, this is not all buyers, but they don't necessarily want to take the time or the money to put into a home to give it the updates that it needs. So if it is a home that is dated, it is sitting on the market a little bit longer, especially if the price is a little high.
Oh, I think it's not wanting to, but also they have less cash.
Yeah,
like
yes.
In general, we all just a little bit tighter. Maybe it's the uncertainty and we don't want to spend our cash, but we are seeing buyers definitely more adverse to the homes that need just normal maintenance. We're not talking about, we've had some that need all new pilings or things like that. We've had a couple of those this year. So check your pilings if you're selling your house. That's a lesson we've learned. But we're not even talking about major upgrades necessarily, but just normal maintenance that can add up. And buyers are wanting it done. They're wanting the sellers to get it done up front, which is not abnormal. It just hasn't how it's been the last several years.
Or if not, they really want a discount on the price.
Right. So where do we think it's going to go? Let's stick with the real estate market right now.
Okay.
Or should we talk about rentals? Because that kind of goes to sales. Which way do you want to go?
Let's just go dig into rentals.
Okay.
I say.
What has happened in the rental market so far this year? What have you seen?
I think, the numbers are all saying there is some worry among homeowners that 2025 is down. In speaking with a cleaner that cleans a lot of Airbnb rentals, she has a lot of homeowners that are nervous. This year has not turned out to be as good as the previous years. There is still a lot of time open in August, so you have homeowners who are a little worried. And it's not she cleans several homes, so it's not just one or two owners.
Not just my house that you're talking about.
Not just his house.
We do have weeks open this year for the first time in the last 4 years. I think three years. Just a few, but people are booking later.
And that is one of the things that everything is showing, is that the lead time for bookings is getting shorter. People are booking later. They're looking for deals. And a lot of the homes, specifically on Airbnb and VRBO, that's what you're seeing. That type of guest is going towards Airbnb and booking late. They're booking right before and looking for a discount. Whereas what I've been seeing is the homes that are listed with the professional property management companies, those homes are booking earlier. I do feel like part of that is, I think it's two things. That type of guest, the type of guest that's been coming here for years, and they book after their stay this year, they'll go ahead and book for next year. There is that certain type of guest that they just know what they want. They know that they're going to be back here, so they go ahead and book. I forgot the other reason.
Well,
that
I think what you were getting at, or maybe. That with those companies, the ones that are going to the companies, those companies are just getting ahead of the curve a little bit. They've been doing it for a long time, whether it's Twitty, Carolina Designs, Beach Realty. There's a lot of them that have been here a long time. And so they've been aggressive. And you've had conversations with some of the rental managers.
I have had a couple conversations with some different rental companies. And that this year, since we're seeing, the last 2 years, we've been seeing an adjustment in our rental market. Our rates got really high. Our demand we had really high demand. Our rental home market kind of got flooded. We had a lot of long-term rentals that were converted into short-term rentals. Homes on the west side that typically weren't short-term rentals, those were turned into short-term rentals. So as we're seeing a change in our market, I did wonder if homes that are with professional property management companies might be getting a better result this year than self-managed homes, because the rental companies that are here have been here for decades. They've been through ups and downs in our rental market. They've seen it all. They know how to get the homes rented. They do really good marketing. They have good strategies. They stay on the ball. If homes are not renting, they don't let them sit. One company that I spoke with said that as early as January, if their schedules weren't booked for homes, they were already reaching out to homeowners to get reductions in their weekly rate to go ahead and get them booked. They know that they need to go ahead and get them booked. Whereas what we're seeing with the self-managed homes on Airbnb and VRBO, last-minute bookings, homeowners have been having to go to shorter-term stays, 3-night, 4-night minimums to get their homes booked, and dropping the rates as well.
I get that, and I certainly agree. But I would also, I think, take it a step further. There's a lot of self-managed homes, a lot of Airbnb with people that know what they're doing, people that follow the market. They've been doing it for years, or even if they've only been doing it for months, they've educated themselves and they're staying very aggressive. And those even can do better than the other ones because you don't have that disconnect. It's directly done. If the person's managing their home, they're looking at it every day. Or even we know managers that do Airbnbs and VRBOs. So I think it's probably more of just those that know what they're doing. They haven't, this isn't anything new. They've done it before. They've been here before. Or they're just staying on top of it and being very aggressive. Where how many people do we know that have gotten Airbnbs, whether it's clients, friends? Like you said, the West Side, everybody. 10 years ago, I don't know if I knew 2 people that had an Airbnb. And now it's everybody. How many do they have? Not everybody's paying attention to it. They have their own jobs. They have their own careers. Yeah. And they're being very passive. And you can't be passive. If you kept your rates where they were for the last 5 years, it's kind of how I was more. Just I didn't really want to go way up like everybody did. And I kind of felt like I was missing out on one hand. But I never had that drop either. It was very consistent. Right. And the expectations were met. I think the people that jack the rates way up, and if they're not paying attention to it, they're just in the wrong market right now. They're not going to get it. And not just renters that we're talking about rentals, expectations are tougher. We were talking earlier today just about how in the retail business, in the ice cream business with my wife, people just have higher expectations right now. Pinching a little bit tighter maybe, and it's the same with rentals. With Blue, we've noticed it with our rental that if it's not as clean, they're going to start giving us, letting us know.
We've had more complaints this year than we have in I think this is the 3rd year that you've had it. We've had more complaints this year, and the house is the same. The house hasn't changed. It is an older home. It's a.
I already covered that on a podcast like 2 ago. So if they want to hear how bad,
I think we touched on it last time.
I don't want to talk about some of the issues that it needs.
So I'm saying that yes, the home hasn't changed, but we are getting more complaints on it. So just like buyers in our sales market, they're being a little bit more particular, and they're wanting the value, I think is what it is.
And with that said, though, we're still seeing rents are still good this year. Like it's not down. I mean, it's down a little bit. Tell us a little bit about what you've known. Like overall, what are you hearing with the
the reports are saying that that 2025, again, we're only halfway through the summer. We don't have, any July numbers yet. But they're saying that we should be on track to do roughly 5% over what was done last year in 2024. That does surprise me a little bit, but I think that because we are seeing last minute rentals, I think that's throwing the numbers off a little bit. And so obviously we won't really know till the end of the year, but that is very promising to me. I did look up Dare County gross rental income, and it was kind of interesting to see, just to give you a little bit of history. And I don't have back before 2021, but 2021 was a boom year for rentals, right? Gross rental income in Dare County was $771 million in 2021. In 22, that jumped up to $814 million. In 23, another increase to $826. Then in 2024, we dropped all the way back to $786 million. So again, we're on track to do close to $800 million, and that's just in Dare County alone. So that doesn't include Corolla, which is in Currituck County.
Yeah, I think the numbers were similar. I looked at Currituck, and it's very similar because I was surprised that 2025, may exceed, or it's at least at where it was 24, but we weren't talking about it as much last year. And I think because we didn't know, the rental companies are very quiet during the year. They don't want to tell you that they're down because their competitors aren't going to admit they're down. So they all have to act like they're doing great because they want you to go to them. And I get it. But what I think happened last year and what you're saying is maybe we had a few more open weeks that just didn't get rented at all.
I think
just
we caught
counting
some
a week.
people. I think we caught some people. They weren't ready to let go of those higher weekly rates. So more homes went unrented because the rates were too high, and owners weren't buying into the flexibility yet with the rates, with possibly shorter term stays.
And I'm not great on math, but 60-70% is higher than zero. So
yes.
So yeah, that's what happened. So it's not bad. I mean, just like the sales, and I think rents, when people adjust, I see that continuing. I think this year will be good. A lot of it's weather. We haven't had a great summer as far as rain or heat. So I don't know if some of that, the people that are booking later,
might come into play.
Not you looking at me like maybe you're not agreeing with that.
I agree. It's been extremely hot, and I've been a baby about it this summer, so I didn't want to complain about it, but that's the fact. And I know it's been that way.
I played golf the other day, and we were talking before, and she goes, I don't know how you're doing that.
I don't know how you go out and play
It's
golf in this heat.
What else am I going to do? I could play golf every day if the weather let me. And that's not heat, just rain.
Yes.
So rents are going to be fairly consistent. Let's go back to sales.
I think just one more comment. One more comment on the rents is that, and you have always said that the Outer Banks is always going to be a good rental market. It just is. It always has been a good rental market. It always will be a good rental market.
One of the unique things about our market is we can cater to the middle class, upper middle class, higher end. So when the economy shifts, if it's a great economy, all of a sudden we've got the middle class renting the bigger houses, renting the bigger, nicer houses. The upper class may be going to Europe, maybe going all over the world, flying somewhere, just more expensive vacations. Well, when the economy tightens up, we get them. They drive here. They don't have to fly. We don't have to worry about the other countries. So it is unique because it's a house. It really caters. It's not like a hotel where it's either high end or not. It's a house, and if you stay on top of your rental rates, then you could adjust with that. I think they go together.
They do.
So what do you think in real estate, the sales going in? Like we said, Lynn and I we had a great start to this year, really best year in about 4 years, I guess the first half. Do we think that's going to continue? I know it needs to for us, but what do you think overall in the market?
That's a really good question, and I wish I had a more definite answer. But what I've been thinking and what I've been seeing all along is that days on market are increasing. Prices are dropping. We see more price reductions, every week. We still have buyers in our market. They're just being a little bit more discerning. Summer is always a little bit of a slowdown just because it's hard to get into homes. I do feel like we will see an increase in inventory in the fall after we get through the season. So I honestly, the dip in inventory this last couple months, that did cause me to pause me
But neither
to
one
pause.
of us think the inventory is going to drop.
We
it may
do not
flatten
know.
out a little
I don't
bit.
think the inventory is going to drop at all. I think it's going to. I think it's going to continue to slowly increase. I think we might get to that 1,000 before the end of the year. Another factor going into that is that this is the second year where rentals are returning to normalcy. I don't like to say that they're dropping, but they're returning to normalcy, which I believe is good. Some homeowners that bought in 2020, 2021, they may not like that. They may decide, okay, it's time to sell.
Yeah, the Outer Banks is a great investment. It always has been, but you need to be realistic about it. The numbers that we saw the last couple of years, the last few years, aren't necessarily realistic on a 20-year span or maybe however long you own your home. If it's 10 years, you're going to see ups and downs. You're going to have weather issues. You're going to have differences. So you have to be able to afford the home. And it's not going to pay for itself. It's a house. I mean, it's going to do really well. It's going to do better than a lot of areas. And again, I love this place year round. And so you have a house that may rent 30 weeks at the most of the year. You get to use it over 20 weeks after that. So it's a really cool investment, but we're going to get back to normal. So the rents aren't down, just like you said, back to normal.
Back to normal.
Back to what we expect. And one of the things with the Outer Banks investment, we're getting more and more exposure. We're getting so many people. I think what has happened over this summer, just to go back a little bit about the dip and the slowdown, July's been hot. We're only midway through, but June was hot. June was the hottest June I think I remember in a long time. It's not just here, across the country. So things have slowed down a bit. Again, looking back at normal, if you go back over the last 20 years, it always slows down this time of year. Mm-hmm. And it really makes it difficult for us as professional real estate agents to price homes. Because when you don't have many sales, it's really hard to know where the market is today. The sales that we're using, if we're going by solds, may have gone under contract in March or even before that, or April. And so it's interesting. It's going to be interesting as we continue to see homes closing, where they're closing at. Did they have to negotiate down a lot? Some of the homes are going to come down. In other words, the market's already dropped a little bit. I think it's what you just alluded to.
Yes.
I think it's already dropped. We just haven't seen it yet. And so it may drop prices a little bit, but we're not talking significance.
No.
What the other part of that is people continue to talk about interest rates. We hear so much interest rates going to drop. What's going to happen? Interesting thing, I think most people don't really understand the mortgage rates compared to what the Fed does. We always are listening to see what the government's going to do. This past, a couple weeks ago, they didn't drop rates, but our rates are actually down. Mortgages right now, 6.6%. That's a low rate. I was surprised. I try to look at it every day. Haven't looked at it in about a week, and it's just, it's down to 6.6. But the mortgage rates aren't really based on what the government's doing. They're really based on consumer expectations, what they think it's going to do. And everybody, all the experts, everything you read, certain the rates are going to drop by the end of the year. Some think at least twice. So I think that's already baked into the interest rates now. What I was reading and everything I see may go down to 6, but that doesn't affect our market, in my opinion. If interest rates are 6% or 6.6%, it's not keeping someone from buying $1 million home. 500. It may. I mean, some people are qualified right on the edge, and it may make a difference, but it's still pretty darn good. 6.5%, 6.6% is not a bad rate.
Or do you think is 6% going to make a bunch of buyers jump into the market?
Well, that's what
versus 6.6.
That's what you hear. That's the talk from all the experts on TV and everything. It's a good talking point. I don't know if we're working with a buyer and they're holding out for that 0.5%. I think jump now and negotiate when nobody else is jumping. I mean, if that's all you're talking about, what does that mean? A couple $100 a month, difference in buying that $700,000 house. Why don't you let us try to negotiate it down and we'll get it $25,000 off? So it might. I think it's just that public perception, but I do think that going into the years, I just see our market staying kind of the way it is. I think it'll pick up this fall just because more activity. And we continue to have more exposure. I've talked about it a lot on the podcast, just how with the TV show, we keep bringing up that TV show, but thank God for the Netflix TV show. People, we literally has increased our rental business and sales business over the last few years, just because of more exposure. So I think that's going to continue to help our market. People want to come here on the beach. With the rentals staying pretty strong, I see our market. I'm pretty optimistic about the market. I think it's going to be fairly flat, but not in a bad way going to the end of the year, and hopefully next spring. Who knows what will happen next spring? It's really hard to predict with all the stuff going on in the world, in the economy, but I'm optimistic that we're going to have good,
Yeah, I am too.
All right. So we've talked about self-manage, and we've talked about the rentals. What are some of the other ways what do people need to do? They need to stay, going back to rentals, we're kind of flip-flopping back and forth. Other than staying on top of the rates, anything else that they need to do to make sure?
I mean, we're kind of late in the game now, but, being flexible with the rates, flexible with the shorter term stays. I did hear a stat that the average stay on the Outer Banks is just 4 nights, which was a little surprising to me because we have so many weekly rentals, but the shorter term stays are growing. So be flexible there. But also what I think is important. So I was just doing some research on Airbnb, and I was looking at trying to get a feel for how many homes were still open. And so I picked a week, like the last week in July, and there were maybe a couple hundred homes that were available to rent. I picked a week in mid-August. There were 500 and some homes available to rent that week. And I'm talking about, probably Nags Head to Corolla was the area that it was looking in. So big area. I looked at a weekend, I think late August and in September, over 1,000 homes available to rent for that week. So you've got to find a way to stand out, whatever that is that you can do to stand out. Obviously, Airbnb has the Superhost, so if you're fortunate enough to, to qualify for the Superhost, your listing will stand out. But do those extra things, even though they might be little. Like have some extra amenities, whether it's, cornhole or change out the bedspreads,
Maybe
so that they're nice and new.
To free bike rentals with the local bikes or the gift baskets or anything
that you can
out.
do.
Like you said, it is late in the year for this, and not everybody can have this super house that is so unique. We've got a buddy.
Also keep it in mind for next year.
Well, that's what I was going to say.
Yeah.
For next year, there's a lot of things because your home you can't just do the same old and expect above same old results.
And that's easy. It's really easy to do, especially after the last few years that we've had. It's easy to just get stuck in the same rut and just assume that the house will keep renting. But think about your guests. Think about, and I know we've talked about this before. Think about what you would want to see when you enter your home. What would make it better? What would attract you to your home?
On that note, we've got a colleague, good friend, John Boy, who has a home that hopefully he's going to be on in the next couple weeks to talk about the house. It's taken a long time to build, stressing me out. I know it's not stressing him out because it is right here in Kitty Hawk. It's a gorgeous house, tallest house, rooftop. I mean, I'll let him talk about it, but you can't list the number of unique features he has in that house. And it's going to be a super house. It's going to be very unique to the Outer Banks. So I'm excited to talk to him about that. And just to see how that rents compared to comparable same bedroom, same location homes, I think you're going to be really surprised.
Can you just sneak the rooftop pool? I mean, give a sneak peek of rooftop pool. Do you think there's any other homes on the Outer Banks that have a rooftop pool?
Rooftop pool and rooftop pickleball court.
Yes.
And he's got another pool. And he's got movie theaters at the pool screens. I mean, it's, again, you can't. I knew what he was doing, and I toured it the other day, and it blew me away. So it's going to be really cool. And I think that's it. What are we doing? EXP, what are we going to do to make sure we have a killer second half of the year?
So as much as the real estate market, the real estate world has, been very busy the last few years. And what our market has come back to is going back to, you've been in this market for 25, dare I say 30? Are we hitting 30 yet? Not 30, 2025.
Exactly 25.
Years. I have been in and around the market for 20 years, actively selling for maybe about 7 or 8. We're getting back to the skills that real estate agents need to have. We're getting back to the basics. We're getting back to doing those things that we used to have to do to get business. And I mean, honestly, we're good at that. Randy is really good at getting on the phone. And so a lot of our time now is spent prospecting for new business, really reaching out.
Needs to be more time there.
We do need to spend, you can always spend more time.
Need to get back on the phone. And it is funny because it is one of my strengths. Without question, when things go bad, I enjoy what I do more.
He does.
You wouldn't know it Lynn wouldn't know it for sure because I panic and complain and pace and everything else. But it just energizes me because I know I can help not just one person, but both sides. I think we can help both sides get the deal together because ultimately that's what most of the people buying and selling homes want. Not all of them. Some of them, I think, buy homes that don't want to buy homes. Some of them we know don't want to sell homes.
Yes,
that
we do.
we've had. But for the most part, people want the transaction to go together. It just takes a little bit more work now, a little bit more patience, and just you got to give a little bit on both sides.
Yes.
But yeah, we're going to get on the phones. We're going to prospect even more and just basically keep getting at it.
Yes.
All right. Thank you. If you guys have any questions, we would love to hear from you.